Epilogue, Legacy Code. Day 184. Long-term support. Summer in Queens smelled of hot asphalt, frying oil, and the sweet, rotting scent of garbage waiting for pickup. It was a dense, analog smell. Real. Arthur Vane sat on a stool behind the counter of Sal's Electronics. The air conditioner was broken. A capacitor failure Arthur had diagnosed, but Sal was too cheap to fix, so the front door was propped open, letting in the roar of 82nd Street. Arthur was working on a PlayStation 5. The GPU was overheating. Dust accumulation. He moved with steady, deliberate hands. He dipped a Q-tip in isopropyl alcohol and cleaned the fan blades. Swipe. Lift. Swipe. His hands didn't shake. He had gained 8 pounds. It wasn't much. He was still a wireframe of a man, but his face no longer looked like a skull wrapped in parchment. The dark circles under his eyes had faded to a light gray. He wore a polo shirt with a grease stain on the pocket. He wore jeans he had bought at Walmart. He looked ordinary. "Yo, Artie," Sal called from the back room. "You fixed that console yet? The kid's been calling every hour." "Thermal paste reapplied," Arthur said. His voice was calm. "Running stress test now." He plugged the console in. The blue light flared. The fan hummed. A quiet, efficient whir. Arthur smiled. It was a small victory. A closed loop. The bell above the door jingled. Arthur looked up. It wasn't the kid. It was a woman in a beige trench coat, despite the heat. She wore sunglasses. Arthur felt a ghost sensation in his stomach, a phantom drop of adrenaline. But his heart rate stayed steady. It wasn't Elena. It was just a customer. "I have a laptop," the woman said, placing a sleek, silver MacBook on the counter. "I spilled coffee on it. The Genius Bar said it's dead. They said I need a new logic board." Arthur pulled the laptop toward him. He smelled the keyboard. Hazelnut. Sugar. "They always say that," Arthur said. "It's easier to replace than to repair. Inefficiency is their business model." The woman tilted her head. "You sound overqualified for a repair shop in Jackson Heights." Arthur didn't flinch. He didn't launch into a speech about data architecture or shard optimization. "I'm just a mechanic," Arthur said. He unscrewed the backplate. He grabbed the multimeter. As he worked, a news report played on the small television Sal kept in the corner. "Stock prices for Client X have fully recovered following the disastrous Vane breach earlier this year. The company announced today that the open-source algorithms released by the rogue employee have actually strengthened their security protocols, thanks to community patching." Arthur stopped. He looked at the screen. Marcus Thorne was on the TV, shaking hands with a senator. Thorne looked older, grayer, but he was smiling. He had survived. The system had survived. Arthur's revolution. The night in the cyber cafe, the grandiose email, the destruction of his own life, had barely been a blip. He hadn't deleted the hub. He had just forced a firmware update. The woman followed his gaze. "That guy," she said, pointing at Thorne. "My husband works for them. Said it was chaos for a month. Now, business as usual. The machine always wins, right?" Arthur looked at the TV. Then he looked at the open laptop in front of him. He saw the corrosion on the logic board. A tiny green bloom of rust where the coffee had hit the bridge. "No," Arthur said softly. "The machine doesn't win. It just endures." He dipped his brush in the alcohol. He scrubbed the corrosion away. He didn't feel anger. He didn't feel the urge to run to the bodega and buy a brown bottle of poison to numb the realization of his own insignificance. He felt light. He was a bad sector that had been quarantined. And in that quarantine he had found peace. "I can fix this," Arthur said to the woman. "It's not dead. It just needs to be cleaned." "Really?" she asked, hopeful. "Really," Arthur said. "Come back in an hour. It will cost you $80. "That's it. That's the price," Arthur said. The woman left. Arthur went back to work. He applied the solder. He bridged the connection. Outside, the 7 train rumbled overhead, shaking the dust from the ceiling. Arthur didn't look up. He didn't analyze the frequency. He just kept working, fixing one small, broken thing at a time. End of novel.